This is the video help tutorial for the Company Asset Management Database. We're going to be doing an overview of the application in this video help, and we're going to be covering the individual screens that are in the app navigation dropover. And this is actually called a popover. So when you click on it, what it does is it opens and presents information in a pop-up area. This application was designed specifically for companies that manage assets. And assets can be anything that has to do with the company that are capital equipment items. These are items that the company itself has on their books as far as capital value, and also they're managed so that the company knows exactly what their capital assets are worth. And in addition to that, it's a custody control situation where there are valuable items that are dispersed across the company, and they're provided to individual departments within the company. And those items need to be categorized as to where they're at, and also tracked as far as when they're actually purchased, what the values are, the information about those items as far as the products themselves. They could be products or equipment, or things like a computer, in this case a computer bank of equipment. But it can be basically anything. It could be a forklift, a tractor. These could be things that are going to be used in a company, or they could be used in manufacturing within the company, or they may be things that are assets that are distributed to different locations or used in the field for service work or whatever. In addition to that, this application is going to look at the servicing and maintenance of those items, both scheduled and unscheduled maintenance, and that's what this area is covering over here. And then again, the items that are in an inventory system, which are over here, are supporting the materials that are used in order to do scheduled and unscheduled maintenance on the individual assets. Now, every asset has some kind of overseeing that is done where you track the item and make sure that it's maintained to keep the value of the item up as far as possible. You know, if you let things deteriorate very quickly, then the capital equipment value of all the items that you have in your company goes down, and it also affects your bottom line, as each year you have to replace items because they're not being maintained properly. So the whole idea of a database like this is to both track the assets and know all the things about the assets, to purchase and manage all the items that are used to maintain those items, and then to track all the service and upkeep and repair and labor that is involved in those items. And at the same time, you can schedule the service, and you can also do things that are things like printing work orders, doing reports and printing reports that manage all the assets and the value of the assets, like in this case, the asset value report and so forth. Inventories are maintained as well, where you have the application where you buy things, you track how much you have, and how many items need to be pre-dispositioned in the company so that you have them when you need them for your support and services. So this is the main reason for this application, and you'll see that these are the different screens that manage those items. Now let's talk a little bit about the screens. If you're not familiar with the way a database works, a relational database has one screen that's a primary screen. It's called the parent, and then the screens underneath it could either be another parent, or they'd be what we call child screens, parent and child. So for example, if you have a portal record that is part of the application, for example, work order portal, the service work order is the main one where you create new records, and the portals themselves are subservient to that portal. That portal is to the main screen, the parent here, and this is the child. So what happens is this is the main screen that you're talking about. The parent is created and adding a new record, where you don't add new records here because they're created in the parent record and they're related. That's where you get a relational database. The data in the parent screen and all the subscreens or child screens are the related records. What does that do for you? Well, when you create a record like for example in a service work order, and there's a portal, a multi-line scrollable area in that particular record, this would be that multiple line scrolling portal. And that portal can have new records created in this screen, and you do not have to create them in this record, because when you do it here, it tracks them and relates them to the main record. How does it relate them? There's actually an individual ID number for each one of these work orders. So the work order would have all the sub-records, each line having the same ID number as the parent screen record. And that's true of the company asset. When you create a company asset, all of the sub-records and portals or whatever that are related to the parent record will have that same asset name and information. And basically what it does is it allows you to put most of the information in for the asset here and not have to jump back and forth between these screens, editing and making changes in these screens that are related in the parent screen. So if that's clear or you have issues or not understand that, we'll be covering these screens individually and talking about how the relationships work and what child screens are actually tied to the parent through a relationship and how they are used. If you have additional questions or you might get stuck as far as where you're supposed to go and where you're supposed to start, the application is really set up where you enter the assets first, and before you can have anything done in a work order, you have to have all the inventory items and stuff available to service. So it would be company assets, inventory, and then service over here. And that's the way that the application is designed to be entered: data, assets, inventory, and service. Okay, thank you for taking this video. If you have any questions, you can go to the developer's website and start a chat or send an email if you have questions. Support is always free with this application, so you do not have to pay a fee or anything. The application is a one-time off cost, and no other fees are generated unless you want a custom version of the application. Thank you.